CEO for ONT International Airport. On behalf of our board and our community, we wanted to welcome you today to the inaugural flight of Northern Pacific Airways. Give them a round of applause.
To Ontario, you are all Vegas. I'm sorry, we're going to Vegas. You guys are all part of history. Captain has turned on that fasten seatbelt sign indicating we will be departing.
Today is finally the day. If any of you follow North American aviation, then I'm sure you've heard about the woes of Northern Pacific Airways, a new long-haul startup based out of Anchorage, Alaska. This new airline is a subsidiary of Float Alaska, which also owns regional carrier Raven Alaska. The plans for Northern Pacific were first announced in September 2021 and called for cheap flights from South Korea and Japan to cities in the continental US, with a stop in Anchorage. A model that's similar to how Iceland Air operates flights between North America and Europe. But those plans were sidelined due to restrictions on flying through Russian airspace, and Northern Pacific was forced to consider far less ambitious routes. Initially, ideas were floated to fly from the US to Mexico, and a service out of the island of Saipan was also considered. But in the end, Northern Pacific decided to launch weekend getaway flights from the Los Angeles area to Las Vegas. However, they faced more hurdles, as delays with obtaining FAA certification forced them to postpone their inaugural flight from the beginning of June to the end of June, and then finally to today, July 14th. This string of setbacks, coupled with some pretty unusual proposals from the airline, has caused many to question the legitimacy of Northern Pacific, and I have to admit that I hesitated a bit when booking my flight from New York to California for fear that today's flight might not materialize. In the end though, I decided to take the plunge and made arrangements to head over to the West Coast for today's inaugural. This flight will depart from Ontario International Airport, where Northern Pacific has a maintenance facility. I was able to check in online last night, so once I got to Terminal 4, I just went right through security. In the early 2000s, this airport, which is located about 35 miles east of downtown Los Angeles, was in decline as many airlines decreased their passenger volumes here. But things have been turning around over the last few years, and Ontario International has actually been growing faster than LAX. My flight with Northern Pacific was scheduled to leave from gate 402, and it was set up for a celebration. There was a table set up with some nice giveaways commemorating today's inaugural, and an hour before boarding, a few VIPs gave speeches.
I also want to thank all of you that showed up here today. My gosh, it's such an honor and privilege to be able to share our dream and our passion to launch the United States' newest airline. And it's just...
Well, it's been 719 days, I guess, since we started this. About 3 years ago, we bought Raven out of bankruptcy in Alaska, and I believe it was actually 75 years ago originally that this flight certificate was created. Wow. So it's been a long journey to get here and a lot of effort for a lot of people. Thanks everybody.
And then it was almost time to board. Currently, Northern Pacific has a small fleet of Boeing 757-200s, which formerly flew for US Air and then American Airlines, but they have aspirations to expand their fleet to 50 planes over the coming years. Although the airframes are old, Northern Pacific has refurbished them with an updated interior and a very cool looking livery that, according to the airline, is designed to reflect the natural beauty of the Alaskan wilderness. For today's flight, I booked an Economy Plus ticket for $134, but tickets start from $69. Stepping inside this plane, it really doesn't feel like it's almost 30 years old. The interior has been refreshed to include new flooring, new wall finishes, and branded vegan leather seats. The business class cabin has 16 seats in a 2-2 layout, and each seat has 39 inches of pitch. There's 36 seats in Economy Plus, with each seat having 35 inches of pitch. And finally, the standard economy cabin has 129 seats with 31 inches of pitch. My seat for this afternoon's flight is 16F, which is next to the emergency exit and has a huge amount of legroom. However, the door does stick out a bit, and I think it would have been a little annoying on a longer flight. I had a look at some of the other standard economy seats though, and I found them to be nice and comfortable. The tray table folds down like this, and there's a seat back pocket for your personal items. The seat reclines, and the headrest is adjustable. There's also charging ports underneath the seat. I think the airline did a great job updating these seats and incorporating lots of details like this stitching that's meant to reflect Alaska's mountain landscape and glaciers. It seemed like we were good to go, but then the captain made an announcement saying that we would be delayed by about 50 minutes. Apparently this was the fault of air traffic control and not the airline, but fortunately the crew had some champagne on hand and gave everyone a glass.
Thank you everybody for coming on the inaugural flight, Northern Pacific Airways, flight 777. I would say non-stop, but 50-minute stop to Las Vegas. Cheers! Thank you all! Congratulations!
Then, to my surprise, the chairman of the board came around with a bag of homemade cookies and handed one out to everyone. I think that this is the first and last time an executive will ever serve me a cookie. Eventually though, we were cleared to leave and it was time to begin our flight to Las Vegas.
Good afternoon and welcome aboard Northern Pacific Flight 777. Service to Las Vegas, our inaugural flight. Our flight time may be approximately 40 minutes. Captain John Hiles command our aircraft along with T-Log.
As we make a right turn here, you're going to see fire trucks, one on the left and one on the right, giving this salute. It's called a water cannon, and that's on a special occasion. And it's kind of a tradition for the local fire department, airport fire department, to do that. So you see the water cannon for this special occasion, for this inaugural flight.
Once we reached cruising altitude, the fasten seatbelt sign was turned off and I decided to take a look at the bathroom. There were plenty of people wandering around the cabin, and when I got back to my seat, the flight attendants handed out some bottles of water. While there's no seatback IFE systems, this plane has Wi-Fi, so you can stream content to your personal device. I was able to connect to the Wi-Fi pretty easily, and it was fast enough to stream YouTube videos. Right now, the airline doesn't provide any movies or TV shows to watch, but the CEO has talked about implementing a platform where you can stream a large selection of entertainment options to your personal device in the future. He also discussed plans to enable passengers to order food and drinks on demand from their personal devices. While many people might prefer to have a direct flight from the US to Asia, once Northern Pacific gets their Trans-Pacific flights up and running, they plan to have a stopover program in Anchorage where passengers can have a relatively quick connection or a multi-day stay, so you can do a little sightseeing in Alaska. And for those who just want a short layover, they're also setting up a new lounge in the Anchorage airport called the Navigators Club, which will have various dining options and even a mini IMAX if all goes to plan. And after only about 40 minutes in the air, we began our descent into Las Vegas.
If you do have a cell phone with arms reach, use it at this time. Notify friends, family that you have arrived in Las Vegas on Northern Pacific's inaugural flight and how absolutely wonderful and fun we've had. I sure appreciate you being here. On behalf of myself and this entire Northern Pacific crew, I'd like to thank you for flying with us and hope to see you again on another Northern Pacific flight soon. Again, thank you and welcome to Las Vegas.
This 197-mile flight is a far cry from the long-haul routes to Asia that Northern Pacific has their sights set on, but overall I enjoyed this flight, and you can tell that the entire Northern Pacific team is passionate about their airline. I have to say that this Anchorage-based crew was absolutely fantastic. They were all so friendly and engaging, and it really made this trip a lot of fun. So I genuinely hope that this startup realizes their goal to expand and create a low-cost network between the US and Asia. I know that I'd definitely book a flight with them from New York to Japan or South Korea, especially with their layover program in Alaska. But let me know your thoughts. Do you think that Northern Pacific will make it? And if they do, would you consider flying with them?
That is really cool. Yeah, just the straight aluminum one.
And that'll do it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.